Fugitive on the Run is a dice and card game for 2 to 4 players. To start, the encounter cards are shuffled and dealt 5 cards to each player, and then the remaining encounter cards are placed in the play area to make the encounter deck. The location cards, the other type of card in the game, are shuffled and 4 placed face up in the center of the table, with the remaining cards placed in the play area, forming the location deck. The player who's had the most recent brush with the law is given the player 1 card, and they go first. The object of the game is to score as many points as possible over the course of 3 rounds by visiting location cards before each round ends, or before someone gets caught. So the way the game is played is over, like I said, the course of 3 rounds, with players taking turns in clockwise order. So at the beginning of each turn, a player may perform one of 3 actions. A player can run, hide, or search. Running is sort of the primary action in the game. And running requires a player to draw an encounter from the encounter deck and place it face up on the table for everyone to see. In this case, it's going to form my discard pile, because I'm going to discard it in front of myself. But a player can discard a card anywhere in Fugitive. They can discard, well, when I say anywhere, they can discard it on any player's discard pile whenever an encounter card is drawn. So this encounter is going to get discarded, like I said. Before I put it down, I'm going to show you that it is a negative encounter because it has an exclamation point. That's how we know that. Rattlesnake. There are 2 types of cards in Fugitive, positive and negative. So this one is a positive card. And as you can see, there's snake boots here in smaller print at the bottom of the card. And what that tells us is rattlesnake can be paired with snake boots in the game. But for now, it's just all we need to know is that it's a negative card. We're going to put it down to start a discard pile here in front of, let's just say this is your discard pile. Because it's a negative card, I get 1 die. And had it been a positive card, I would have gotten 2 dice. But since I have 1 die, I now look at the location cards here on the table and start to decide which one I'm going to go for. It's important to remember that you have to tell all the players at the table which encounter card, or which location card, you're going to attempt to visit before you roll. It's also important to note that you can add dice to your roll at this point if you want by discarding a positive card. So I have a positive card in my hand that I'm going to discard, and that is stake, no exclamation point in the title. So it's a positive card. So I'm going to discard it here in my discard pile, which enables me to add a die to my roll, and gives me a better chance of being successful, because in order to acquire a location card, I need to have at least 1 even result in a single roll, or I have to have a number of even results equal to the value of the card. So in the case of the hot dog eating contest, which is only worth 1, and you can tell its value because only cards with numbers on them have a value greater than 1. So the county fair, which has a 2, is worth 2. And these other cards which don't have numbers are worth 1. So I'm going to go for the hot dog eating contest, which only requires one even result. And I have 2 dice, so I feel pretty good about the possibility of rolling one even result. So now I'm going to roll. All right, so I've rolled a 1 and a 2. So that's one even result, which is all I needed for this hot dog eating contest, which is worth one even result. So I'm going to pick it up and add it to my point pile, but first I'm going to read the condition on the card and resolve it. So this card says extra turn, which means I can, before my turn is over, draw another encounter card. So I'm going to do that. And I have drawn the Warden. Please forgive the difference in graphics. This is a prototype and some design that we're playing with. But the Warden, as you can see, has an exclamation point in its title, so it is a negative card. Again, which means I start my turn with 1 die. And I am going to attempt to, with this 1 die, I'm not going to discard anything to add a die. I'm going to attempt to visit the NASCAR race, which has a value of 1 because it doesn't have a number in the title. We know that it's worth 1. And so here I go. I'm going to roll and see if I can get an even. All right, I failed. I rolled a 1. Which is odd, obviously. So that is a failed roll. I needed 1 even result, but I only got, well, I got 0. So I have failed the roll. And because I revealed a negative card with that encounter, I am forced to put it in my hand. Now, if I had discarded a card on top of it, I could have covered it and kept myself from having to pick it up, but I didn't want to do that. I chose to take my chances there. So, so I have to pick it up. And that is the end of my turn. So before my turn ends, I have to do a couple things. I have to make sure that I replace the location cards, which I've done. And I need to count my cards and make sure that I have 5 or less. And I have 5, so that's okay. If I had had more than 5, I would have had to discard down to 5. And it's important to remember that you can only discard negative cards in this game when the location cards tell you you can. Otherwise, in a case like this, if I had to discard a negative card to discard down to 5, I would have been considered to have been caught. So when that happens, my turn, or I'm out of the round essentially, and the round ends after everyone else gets a chance to take one more turn. All right, so that's running. That's the first of the 3 actions, is revealing an encounter card and then playing. Hiding is the second available action to a player at the beginning of their turn, and hiding essentially means making a pair. So if you look at your hand and you see that you have, say for example, you have a pair in your hand like I do here. I've got the donut and the detective, which as you can see, go together to make a pair. You can play that pair instead of revealing an encounter card. So I'm going to do that and discard them here. And I can discard them wherever I want, by the way. I can discard on your discard pile if I wanted to. But I'm just going to put them over here. And when you discard a pair or make a pair, you can take a card for free. So, you know, I'm most likely going to take this county fair card because it's worth 2 points, and it also has a very valuable condition that enables me to draw 2 cards and discard any 2 cards. So that's an example of when a location card allows you to discard a negative card. So I'm going to take that, add it to my point pile, and I'm going to draw 2 cards. And I can discard any 2 cards, so I'm going to discard, in this case, I'm going to discard these negative cards. And another way, so I showed an example of playing a pair out of your hand. Another way that a player can hide or make a pair is, let's say, for example, that at the beginning of my turn, the detective card were on the top. Remember this detective card? Let's say it was on the top of my discard pile. My turn is beginning now, and let's say that instead of playing a pair like I did out of my hand, I can make a pair by playing a card out of my hand onto a discard pile to make a pair. So I can. That's another example of hiding or making a pair in the game, which is perfectly fine. And in that case, the same result happens. So whenever you make a pair, you can take a card for free. So this doesn't have a special condition. It's just worth 2. So I'm going to take that, add it to my point pile. And in that case, my turn would end after I replace the location cards and make sure that I don't have more than 5 cards in my hand. All right. And it's important to remember, or it's important to know that even though when you hide on your turn by making a pair, you can make a pair at any time during the game if the game causes you to discard. So if you were discarding down to 5 and you made a pair by discarding a card on somebody's discard pile, that's considered making a pair, and is good and it allows you to take a card for free every time that you make a pair. Anytime the game, in any instance where you're required to discard a card and you can discard to make a pair, that allows you to take a card for free. All right, so that's hiding. Then the third option is searching. So we've done running, hiding, and now we're going to talk about searching. So when a player searches as their action on their turn, instead of revealing a card or making a pair, they grab someone's discard pile, and hopefully you've been paying attention to what's going into discard piles. They grab someone's discard pile with the ability to look through it and take 1 card. So you have to take a card. So make sure that you're paying close attention. You have a pretty good idea of what you're going for and whether or not it's in that discard pile, because you must take a card. You also, at this point, you don't want to show the contents of the discard pile to everybody else. Hopefully they've been paying attention, but you don't want to give them any free clues about what is in there. So I'm going to, I'm going to take a card from their discard pile. I'm going to put it back the way I found it, minus the card that I took, meaning I didn't shuffle it or put a different card on the top or anything like that. I just took the 1 card that I was looking for, hopefully it was in there, and put it back the way I found it. And in the case of searching, that's the end of your turn. There's no pair making and no taking location cards. That's it. All right. So once a player's turn is finished, they've checked to make sure that they don't have more than 5 cards. The location cards have been replaced. The play passes, their turn is over, and play passes to the left. All right, so that continues until the end of the round, and the round can end in a few ways. One is the last location card is revealed. So for example, let's say that on your turn, you took the NASCAR race. It goes in your point pile. You then reveal that the barbecue cook-off, or you revealed the final card from the location deck and it's now empty. So when that happens, if this is your turn and you're the person that revealed this card, then you're done, and everyone else at the table gets one more turn to try to earn these final location cards. And once everyone else has taken a turn, the round is over. That's one way the round can end. Another way a round can end is when someone gets caught. So if a player, like we've talked about before, if a player is forced to discard a negative card at the end of their turn, they're caught. And when a player is caught, they're out of the round, and then everyone else at the table has the opportunity to take one more turn, and then the round is over. The third way that a round can end is when someone surrenders. Now this is a little bit tricky, but it's important because as you may have noticed, when the cards are dealt at the beginning of the game, it's random. So you could theoretically be dealt 5 negative cards, which puts you at a disadvantage if another player at the table was dealt 4 negative cards or no negative cards. So in order to overcome that imbalance, a player has the ability to surrender. So if you start your turn at any point in the game, it doesn't have to be the first turn of the game. If you start your turn at any point in the game with 5 negative cards and you reveal an encounter card that is negative, that's also important. So you have to start with 5 negative cards in your hand, and you have to reveal an encounter card that is negative. You, at that point, receive 1 die, as we've discussed. And if you look at the location cards and see that there are some 1-point cards that you could possibly earn by rolling 1 even, you could choose not to roll. You could say, you know what, I'm not going to roll. I'm going to turn myself in. I'm going to surrender or turn myself in. And at which point you opt not to roll, and you can pick up a card either from that's face up in the center of the table, or you can pick up a card that's face down on the top of the location deck. And when that happens, so for example, I'm going to take this barn because it's worth 3 points, and it's obviously hard to roll 3 even, so I'm going to take the points here. When that happens, when a player surrenders, unlike when the last location card is revealed or when someone is caught, when someone surrenders, the round is immediately over. The other players do not get to take an extra turn. The round is over, and everyone tallies up the points that they have in their point pile, record the points, and the next round begins. So, as I said, the game is played in 3 rounds. The person with the most points at the end of 3 rounds is determined to be the winner, and that's Fugitive on the Run.